The false bride tried to ruin me. This is book 2 of the series Whispers Moving Across Ages Unite Souls Through Endless Silence. Chapter 1. As the year drew to close, I faced a pivotal decision. I had been offered a tempting opportunity to work abroad on a prestigious fashion show, a chance that many would envy. Yet, I chose to decline it, prioritizing my family over career ambitions. My heart was set on returning home to provide the bridal makeup for my brother's new wife, a moment I had eagerly anticipated. However, upon my arrival, I was met with a question that struck me like a bolt from the blue. Eliza, with a casual yet pointed demeanor, inquired whether I was still a virgin. My eyes instinctively fell to her pronounced belly, a clear indication of her condition. I wondered if she feared I might mock her for marrying while pregnant. In a moment of honesty, I admitted that I was not a virgin. What happened next was utterly unexpected. In a fit of rage, she swept my carefully arranged makeup products off the table, sending them crashing to the floor in a cacophony of shattered hopes. "Do you not understand that today is my wedding day?" she spat, her voice laced with venom. "How dare a filthy woman like you even think of touching me? Go find someone pure to do my makeup. If your bad luck rubs off on me, my husband will have a word with you," she continued, her indignation palpable. "And take your trashy makeup with you. I refuse to have second-hand items tainted by someone like you." I stood there, momentarily frozen, my gaze fixed on her swollen belly. How could a woman who found herself pregnant before marriage dare to label anyone as unclean? After a beat of silence, I collected my scattered belongings from the floor, my heart heavy with disbelief. I reached for my phone and dialed my brother, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. "Your wife believes I'm dirty," I stated plainly. "Consequently, I will not be doing her makeup. And that Maserati I gifted you, I'll be reclaiming it. Your wife insists that anything from me brings bad luck," I added, the weight of my words settling in the air between us. His response was immediate, a mixture of confusion and concern. "There must be some misunderstanding. Your sister-in-law, she..." Before he could finish, Eliza snatched the phone from my hand, her fury evident as she hurled it to the ground. "How dare you make a call in my dressing room?" she exclaimed, her voice rising in pitch. "What, planning to summon all those men you've slept with to defend you?" I shot back, my temper flaring. "You're insufferable. My perfect wedding is ruined because of you," she cried, her frustration spilling over. At that moment, the bridesmaids, drawn by the commotion, rushed into the room. Their faces froze in shock as they beheld the chaos of makeup strewn across the floor. Eliza, ever the drama queen, pointed an accusatory finger at me. "Who arranged this? Whose brilliant idea was it to have someone unchaste do my makeup?" "Such disgusting bad luck," one of the bridesmaids exclaimed, her nose wrinkling in distaste as she eyed me. "No wonder I caught a whiff of something foul the moment I entered. Turns out it was a slut in the room," another chimed in, her voice dripping with disdain. "What are you still doing here? Get out," another urged, her tone sharp. "Exactly. Eliza is the true daughter of the Campbell family, the one they just discovered. Thanks to her, the Campbell Group's stock price has been soaring for months. Offend her, and you won't last a day in San Antonio," they warned, their loyalty to Eliza evident. I stood there, my phone clutched tightly in my hand, a cold smile creeping across my lips. Campbell Group. The only reason their stock price had been climbing was due to my own efforts. I had learned about my brother's fiancée long before anyone else, maneuvering some strings overseas to give the company a temporary boost. I never imagined Eliza would wield this as a weapon against me, flaunting her newfound power. Little did she know, if I wished for that stock price to plummet, it would be a mere flick of my wrist. With that thought swirling in my mind, I picked up a broken pallet from the floor, my voice low and deliberate. "Perhaps you should first consider how you intend to compensate me for this mess." Each item scattered on the floor was from the most luxurious brands, a collection that easily surpassed $1 million. Eliza erupted into laughter, a mocking sound that echoed through the room. A gold digger is still a gold digger, exposed for not being a virgin and breaking down immediately. Now she's even trying to extort money, one of the bridesmaids added, her tone dripping with scorn. They kicked aside my luxury products, their laughter ringing in my ears. Look at these brands, never seen or heard of them. They must be cheap knockoffs, one remarked, her disdain palpable. Thank goodness Eliza caught this early. Imagine if she had let this woman touch her face, it would have been ruined. Another chimed in, their voices full of mock concern. And who knows what diseases a woman like her carries? Using her things, absolutely revolting. I chose to ignore their taunts, focusing instead on documenting the damage. The loss was significant, easily over $1 million, ample grounds for a lawsuit. What? Cat got your tongue? Eliza's voice dripped with triumph as I remained silent, my resolve hardening. Eliza, in a fit of frustration, kicked at the hem of my dress, her actions reflecting her desperation to regain control. Chapter 2. Wearing something that's so scandalous. Don't tell me you usually use bridal makeup gigs as a cover to seduce the groom. My hand froze mid-motion, the brush hovering just above the palette. Here I stood, the chairwoman of a cosmetics empire valued in the hundreds of billions, a makeup artist whose name echoed in the halls of fame. Celebrities, some of the most famous faces on the planet, clamored for an appointment with me, often left disappointed. Yet here I was, lowering myself to apply makeup for her, only because she was marrying Maverick, the man who had once been my closest ally. And she had the audacity to question my professionalism. As she opened her mouth to speak again, I lifted my gaze, locking my eyes onto hers with a fierce intensity. Pregnant before marriage, and you still cling to some notion of virginity. A laugh bubbled up from within me, almost incredulous. Seriously, you, calling anyone else dirty? Where did you even get that face? She hadn't anticipated my retaliation. I could see the color drain from her cheeks, replaced by a furious flush of crimson. The baby in my stomach belongs to the groom. How is that even remotely the same? I gave him my first time, and I'm marrying him today. How am I not pure? But you're here just to ruin my big day. What's your real motive? At that precise moment, my phone buzzed with a WhatsApp voice call request from Maverick. The instant my screen illuminated with his avatar, Eliza froze, her expression shifting to one of disbelief. Then, in a fit of rage, she lunged forward, grabbing a fistful of my hair. So you're trying to seduce my husband? That's why you came here, isn't it? I knew it. Women who aren't virgins are always just sluts, always trying to lure men away. Don't act like you don't know. I'm not the only one. There are tons of women obsessed with my husband. You must be one of them. Suddenly, everything fell into place. So this was the crux of her anger. All that talk about being unclean. It wasn't disgust, it was fear. Just your average, brainless bride, perceiving every other woman as a rival in a twisted game of jealousy. Asterisk Chapter 2. The bridesmaids rushed in like a swarm, joining the fray. Two of them seized my arms, pinning me down from either side. It all makes sense now, one shouted. She wanted to ruin Eliza's face with cheap makeup and then seduce the groom. Another chimed in. My arms were locked in a vice grip, rendering me immobile. A rare flicker of panic surged through me. My hands were my lifeline. They couldn't be harmed. I spoke quickly, urgency lacing my words. Maverick is my brother. If you don't believe me, call him. Your brother? Eliza leaned closer, her gaze dripping with disdain. What kind of brother? A sugar daddy brother? A bedmate brother? Her spit nearly landed on my cheek. I instinctively recoiled, but the bridesmaids held me firm. Before I could gather my thoughts, she raised her hand and struck me hard across the face. I've been with Maverick long enough. He's never once mentioned having a sister. Stop pretending to be some delicate little victim to seduce men. You're not worthy of that title. I froze in place, her words hitting me like a physical blow. It was true. Maverick wasn't my biological brother. He was the son of my uncle, who had tragically died in an accident when I was just 5 years old. Out of pity, my parents had taken him in, raising him alongside me as if we were siblings. When my entire family relocated abroad, he chose to remain in San Antonio, insisting he wanted to repay my parents' kindness by managing the domestic branch of our company. I had never anticipated that he hadn't mentioned me to Eliza at all. Just then, her phone rang, cutting through the tension. As she glanced at the caller ID, a smug grin spread across her face. "Look who's calling. My husband must have heard you bullying me. He's coming to rescue me." With a triumphant tap, she activated the speakerphone, her voice instantly transforming into a saccharine tone. "Hubby, when are you getting here? You won't believe it. The makeup artist today isn't even a virgin." Chapter 3. "You know my parents despise anything that brings bad luck," Eliza exclaimed, her voice rising in frustration. "What am I supposed to do now?" I could hear the tension in Maverick's voice, a mixture of urgency and concern. Where is she? Where is she right now?" Eliza turned her head slightly, casting a quick glance in my direction. "She's in my room," she replied, her tone dripping with annoyance. "She's nothing but a gold digger." Maverick's voice carried through the phone, laced with disdain. "She even tried to extort money from me just now. It's absolutely disgusting." Before Eliza could respond, Maverick interrupted her sharply. "Don't you dare touch her. Stay right where you are. I'm coming right now." The line went dead with a sudden click. Eliza stared at her phone, momentarily frozen in disbelief, before she awkwardly tucked it away. The silence that followed was thick with tension, only to be shattered as her bridesmaids quickly clustered around her, their eyes sparkling with envy. "Mr. Peterson really treats you so well. The moment he heard something had happened to you, he couldn't wait to rush over," one of them exclaimed, her voice a mix of admiration and jealousy. "Exactly, and it's not even time for the ceremony yet. How commanding," another chimed in, her tone filled with awe. "Eliza, you're so lucky," they chorused, their voices ringing like sweet music to her ears. Eliza, basking in the attention, let a smug smile spread across her face. She lifted her chin defiantly, as if to say that the world revolved around her and her moment of glory. Just then, one of the bridesmaids broke in. "By the way, Eliza, what about your makeup now?" Eliza's expression shifted in an instant. She froze, her gaze darting to the shattered remnants of her luxury cosmetics strewn across the floor. With a furious glare directed at me, she commanded, "You, do it. But after you finish, you need to compensate me with 10,000. And you must kneel to hand it over to ward off your bad luck," I shot back, unable to contain my disbelief. Her eyes widened in indignation. "You want me to do your makeup for free, and then kneel to pay you 10,000. "Well, I refuse," I declared, my voice steady despite the chaos around us. She jabbed a finger at me, her face flushed with rage. "I'm giving you a chance and you're refusing it." Suddenly, a mischievous bridesmaid smirked, her eyes glinting with a wicked idea. "Eliza, I have the perfect plan to deal with a slut like her and let you vent at the same time." Before I could react, she lunged forward, grabbing several red envelopes and forcefully shoving them into the neckline of my dress. The sharp edges dug into my skin, leaving a burning sensation that was both humiliating and painful. I tried to pull away, but the sheer number of them holding me back rendered me powerless. With a triumphant clap of her hands, she announced, "When the groomsmen come to open the door later, we'll have them search for these red envelopes. They can only enter once they find them." Eliza's eyes sparkled with delight. "Brilliant," she exclaimed, her voice dripping with excitement. "Ha ha ha, and don't forget her underwear. My husband's friends love women like her," another bridesmaid added with a laugh. "It's my wedding day. Might as well give them some fun," Eliza chimed in, her laughter ringing through the room like a bell. A rush of anger surged within me, my blood pounding in my ears. As I watched them gather more envelopes, marching toward me with malicious intent, I shouted desperately, "Stop! If you keep doing this, I'll call the police." "Call the police?" Eliza erupted into mocking laughter, her tone dripping with disdain. Go ahead. When they arrive, they'll only find a filthy woman pretending to be my husband's sister. With a snap of her fingers, she commanded, bind her. In an instant, they descended upon me, one grabbing my arms while another yanked at my hair, pulling me down as I struggled against their grip. Despite my desperate attempts to fight back, I was outnumbered and overpowered. They shoved the red envelopes into every nook and cranny, laughing as they tormented me. Stop pretending. You're loving this, aren't you? One of them taunted. Exactly. You die for Mr. Puttason's buddies to get their hands on you. Another chimed in, their laughter echoing in my ears. Rage and humiliation crashed over me like a tidal wave, suffocating me in its depths. My screams and curses only fueled their amusement, their laughter ringing out like cruel music. Finally, after they had stuffed red envelopes into every vulnerable part of my body, they paused, their cruel game momentarily over. Then, without a hint of gentleness, they wrapped a budshut around me and tied me to the bedpost, their movements rough and practiced. Eliza dusted off her hands with a satisfied smirk, then gracefully settled into a chair. You all do my makeup. Whoever does it best. When we're finished, I'll have my husband reward her with a big red envelope. At her words, the bridesmaids' eyes lit up with greed, their faces alight with the promise of reward. Chapter 4. Half an hour later, the bridesmaids finally completed the intricate task of applying Eliza's makeup, a look that could only be described as a bold, exaggerated influencer style. The foundation was layered on so thickly that it resembled plaster, giving her skin an unnatural sheen. The false lashes were so voluminous they nearly brushed against her eyebrows, creating a dramatic effect that was hard to ignore. And the blush, it was so vibrant that it bordered on comical, making her cheeks appear as though they were painted on by a child with a penchant for bright colors. Yet, as Eliza admired her reflection in the mirror, she couldn't help but turn her head from side to side, her satisfaction palpable. Perfect. Only this kind of glam suits my status today, she declared, her voice a mix of pride and excitement. Suddenly, a cacophony of noise erupted from downstairs. The groomsmen must have arrived, and my heart raced at the thought. I let out a shaky breath, a flicker of hope igniting within me. Maybe, just maybe, I could be saved from the chaos that was about to unfold. The bridesmaids leaned out of the window, their eyes wide with glee. Eliza, they're here. One of them squealed, her enthusiasm infectious. Eliza shot me a venomous glare, her expression darkening as her eyes glinted with a sinister light. A chill crept up my spine at the sight. Sure enough, a smirk curled at her lips. Go stall my husband downstairs, she commanded, her tone brooking no argument. And send the groomsmen up first. Let them play a little game. The bridesmaids exchanged knowing glances, immediately understanding her intent. They sauntered out with mischievous grins plastered on their faces. My stomach dropped at the realization of what she was planning. What scheme was she concocting now? Before long, the hallway was filled with the raucous laughter and lively voices of the groomsmen. Where's the bride? Bring the bride out, one of them bellowed, his excitement echoing against the walls. Come on, our Mr. Puttason is already getting mobbed by pretty bridesmaids. Shouldn't the bride come greet him? Another chimed in, the playful banter sending a wave of anxiety through me. As the footsteps grew closer, one of the bridesmaids stepped boldly in front of the groomsmen. You want Eliza to come out? Sure, she said, her tone teasing. But first, you have to pass our little challenge. With that, she yanked me out of the room, and I barely had time to process what was happening before I was thrust into the hallway. The moment the groomsmen spotted me, their eyes lit up with mischief. Is she a bridesmaid, too? She's pretty cute, one of them remarked, his gaze sweeping over me like a predator sizing up its prey. The bridesmaid beside me pinched my arm hard, her sweet smile masking her intent. Relax, the game's easy, she whispered, barely concealing her delight. All you have to do is find 88 red envelopes hidden on her. Once you find them all, we'll consider letting you in to get the bride. Remember, every one of them needs to be found. What from her? The men looked me up and down, their gazes making my skin crawl uncomfortably. I snapped, my voice icy. I'm telling you, anyone who lays a finger on me will regret it. The hallway fell silent for a brief moment, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Then, from inside the room, Eliza's voice floated out, saccharine and sweet. Don't be scared. This is just part of the game. If you can handle the pressure and still finish the challenge, it shows you truly have sincerity, right? The groomsmen exchanged glances, their grins widening with excitement. Well, if it's part of the game, we can't disappoint, can we? Sorry in advance, miss, we won't hold back. Before I could even think to protest, countless hands surged toward me, reaching out with a fervor that made my heart race. The cold shock of unfamiliar touches sent a jolt through my entire body, and I instinctively jerked away, desperately trying to flee toward the door. But someone grabbed me from behind, yanking me back with surprising strength. Oh, she's running. Another part of the challenge, huh? One of them laughed, his voice dripping with amusement. Makes it more exciting. Another chimed in, their enthusiasm unnerving. Someone hooked my ankle, and I stumbled forward, crashing onto the sofa with a thud. Laughter erupted around me, the sound echoing in my ears as several bodies closed in, their weight pinning me down. Panic surged through my chest, my breath coming in tight, painful bursts. I clawed at my dress, determined not to let it be pulled away from me. Let go of me, I shouted, my voice laced with desperation. But the bridesmaids only laughed harder from the corner, filming the chaos with their phones, their glee palpable. Come on, the livelier the games, the luckier Eliza's wedding will be, one of them exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Don't hold back, she loves men, another added, their laughter ringing in my ears. Very quickly, they began finding more and more red envelopes on me, the search quickly turning into something far more invasive. But calling it a search was a joke. Their hands roamed freely, taking advantage of the situation with no regard for my discomfort. I had lost count of how many times I had already been grabbed. Shame and fear twisted together inside me, suffocating me in their grip. Humiliation surged up like a tidal wave, and before I could stop them, tears spilled down my cheeks. But they paid no mind to my distress. What are you crying for? It's just part of the game. One of them taunted, their voice dripping with mockery. Yeah, it's not like we're taking a piece of your flesh. Another chimed in, their laughter ringing hollow. The bridesmaid who had orchestrated this madness picked up the envelopes they had taken from me, counted them with dramatic flair, and sighed theatrically. Only 87, that's all. Right after that, all of them turned their predatory gazes toward my dress, their eyes gleaming with shameless intent. I immediately pressed my legs together, my voice trembling as I protested. That's enough. What you're doing is illegal. Just then, the bedroom door swung open. Eliza, who had been hiding inside the whole time, leaned lazily against the frame, her smile wide and unfazed. Keep searching, she said, her tone casual. If you ruin my husband's chance to retrieve the bride, he's going to be furious. With her encouragement, their recklessness grew. Hands shot forward, tugging viciously at my dress, and I felt my heart race with dread. You've been touched so many times already. What's one more? One of them jeered, their laughter echoing in my ears. Please, you were totally enjoying it earlier. Don't pretend now. Another added, their words cutting deep. I struggled with every ounce of strength I had, but I couldn't break free from their grasp. Just as I felt the fabric of my dress threatening to tear, the front door suddenly slammed open with a deafening bang. Maverick rushed in like a whirlwind, his voice cracking as he shouted, "Stop! All of you stop! Don't you dare hurt my sister." The air crackled with tension as he stood there, a furious protector ready to defend me against the chaos that had spiraled out of control. Chapter 5. His hair was disheveled, strands sticking out at odd angles, and his suit hung askew, wrinkled as if he had battled his way through a throng just to reach me. The chaos of the moment was palpable. The groomsmen, caught in their own frantic dance, halted abruptly, their hands freezing mid-motion as realization dawned upon them. They scrambled off me in a flurry, panic etched across their faces. Maverick, she's your sister," one of them stammered, his voice trembling with disbelief. We had no idea. They told us it was just part of the game," another added, his eyes wide with fear. "We only wanted to ensure the bride retrieval went smoothly," a third chimed in, desperation lacing his tone. Maverick, however, dismissed their feeble justifications with a wave of his hand, his focus solely on me. He stormed forward, covering the distance in a few long strides, and gently lifted me into his arms as if I were the most fragile thing in the world. I felt utterly helpless, my legs barely able to support me, my entire body quaking under the weight of the moment. With a swift motion, he shed his suit jacket and draped it around my shoulders, a protective shield against the chaos. His eyes, bloodshot and filled with a tumult of emotions, locked onto mine. I'm so sorry," he kept murmuring, each repetition thick with guilt and self-reproach, as if he believed he could somehow erase the pain I felt. Eliza's face darkened instantly, a storm brewing in her eyes. Yet she recovered with remarkable speed, launching herself into Maverick's embrace. "Hubby, I know you were just too eager to come get me. That's why you're so worked up, right?" she said, her voice a mix of feigned innocence and calculated charm. "Come on, she's just the makeup artist I mentioned earlier," Maverick replied, his tone clipped, irritation bubbling beneath the surface. "She's not a virgin anyway. Who cares about this? Everyone was just trying to keep the atmosphere fun." Before she could finish her thought, Maverick's voice erupted like a thunderclap. "Eliza, are you out of your mind? I told you not to touch anything until I got here," he continued, his frustration spilling over. "What the hell were you doing?" Eliza's expression morphed from surprise to indignation, her voice rising in protest. "Hubby, how can you yell at me over some woman? I'm pregnant with your child. And who knows, maybe she's that little sister you picked up from your escapades outside. I didn't even complain. Why are you angry?" Maverick shot back, his words laced with bitterness. Struggling to push myself upright, I felt the weight of the world pressing down on me. I turned my gaze to Maverick, my heart heavy. "Brother, I won't be attending your wedding," I declared, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. "And tell your wife to expect a lawyer's letter," I added, the finality of my words hanging in the air like a thick fog. The moment those words escaped my lips, Eliza lunged toward me, her face a mask of outrage. "What do you mean?" she screeched, disbelief coloring her voice. "You're sending me a lawyer's letter." "I'm the heiress of the Campbell Group. My husband is the successor of the Putta-Sun Corporation," she retorted, her indignation palpable. "And you, what are you exactly?" I countered, my tone icy as I challenged her entitlement. Before she could respond, Maverick turned sharply, his hand connecting with her cheek in a swift, shocking motion. "Her identity is none of your business," he snapped, the anger in his voice reverberating through the room. Eliza froze, her carefully painted makeup twisting into a grimace of fury. "Hubby, you hit me. For her," she exclaimed, disbelief mingling with hurt. "My parents are at the hotel right now. How are you going to explain this to them?" Maverick's voice was strained, the weight of family expectations pressing down on him. "Is today's wedding supposed to be canceled?" she demanded, her voice rising in panic. "Wedding?" Maverick let out a harsh, cold laugh. "You really think you're worthy?" Just then, a bridesmaid burst through the door, breathless and wide-eyed, her panic palpable. Eliza, something's wrong," she gasped, clutching her chest as if to steady herself. "The Miss Cruddy parked outside your house. Someone just hauled it away." Chapter 6. A tow truck. Could it really be my team? I bent down to retrieve my phone from the cold, hard floor, my heart racing. I had only sent one simple message instructing them to take the car. I never anticipated they would respond with such swiftness. "What?" Eliza's voice crackled with frustration as she seized Maverick by the arm, her fury propelling her down the stairs like a whirlwind. I want to confront whoever has the audacity to touch my car. As she stormed into view, the sight of my secretary, Culla, sent her into a rage. With a fierce shove, she pushed Culla aside, her anger palpable. What on earth are you doing? That car is my wedding gift from my husband. Let go of it this instant. Maverick, sensing the tension, lowered his head, a hint of guilt flickering in his eyes as he murmured softly to me, "Sister, I never claimed I bought it." I took a deep breath, stepping forward with determination until I was mere inches from Eliza's furious face. I instructed them to tow it. Is there a problem with that? Her eyes widened in disbelief, a storm of emotions swirling within them. What gives you the right to do this? I could feel the weight of her words, but I pressed on, unyielding. So what if you and my husband share some complicated connection? At best, you're just a mistress. What right do you have to meddle with the belongings of the legal wife? She shot back, her voice laced with indignation. Culla, her brow furrowed in confusion, interjected. What madness are you spouting? Our President Puttason, the chairwoman of Silver Crest Group, why would she ever be anyone's mistress? With a swift motion, Culla produced a purchase order and flung it at Eliza, the paper fluttering through the air like a fallen leaf. That car was a wedding gift from our President Puttason to her brother. But now, she's decided to cancel it. Gasps rippled through the crowd, a collective intake of breath that hung heavy in the air. Silvercrest Group, the overseas cosmetics giant. She's the chairwoman. No way. Campbell Group isn't influential enough to host someone like her. Eliza's complexion drained of color, her face transforming into a ghostly white. She staggered backward, her fingers trembling as she clutched the purchase order, each word she read stripping away her resolve. That's impossible, her voice trembled, and she suddenly jerked her head up, a wild look in her eyes as she shrieked. This must be a forgery. Go on. You hired actors to stage this entire charade, didn't you? Maverick could no longer contain his frustration. He pushed her aside with a forceful shove, his patience worn thin. Eliza, do you remember when I mentioned there was someone special I wanted you to meet today? That person is my sister, Trinity Puttason. Trinity, it truly is Trinity. A voice from the crowd broke through the tension, a figure holding up their phone triumphantly. I found it. The chairwoman of Silver Crest Group is named Trinity Puttason. Look, they raised their phones higher, showcasing the evidence. There are videos of her at various events. It's undeniably her. In a frenzy, people around them began pulling out their own phones, each confirming the astonishing revelation one after another. It's really her. My God, the legendary President Puttason graced us with her presence at a wedding. I'm at a loss for words. As the whispers grew louder, the bridesmaids and groomsmen instinctively retreated from Eliza, fear etched across their faces. One bridesmaid, her voice quaking, stammered, It was us. We didn't do anything." It was her. Everything was Eliza's idea. Chapter 7. Why, yes, it had nothing to do with me. Another groomsman hastily interjected, his voice tinged with desperation. She insisted we play games to let the groom pick up the bride. I was merely following orders. Eliza's gaze shot towards them, her eyes widening in sheer disbelief, her expression morphing into one of indignation. The pitch of her voice escalated, almost breaking into a frantic scream. It wasn't my idea. Don't you dare pin this all on me. I felt the weight of the suit jacket that Maverick had draped over my shoulders, its fabric heavy with expectation. My voice remained steady, despite the chaos around us. Perhaps it wasn't your idea initially, but you were the one who commanded them to participate. My eyes locked onto hers, each word articulated with deliberate clarity. I've already warned you, expect a letter from my lawyer. With that, I turned away, the tension in my chest easing slightly as I walked away from the scene. Eliza attempted to lunge after me, her heels clicking sharply against the floor, but Maverick moved swiftly, positioning himself between us with a protective stance, his arm raised as a barrier. "Don't you dare approach my sister again," he warned, his voice cold and unyielding. "If you do, not even 10 families from the Campbells will be able to cover the consequences of your actions." After delivering that chilling warning, he guided me toward his car, the atmosphere thick with unspoken emotions. The moment the doors closed behind us, a profound silence enveloped us, muffling the chaos that had just erupted outside. "Sister, we're heading to the hospital," he said, his voice heavy with an undercurrent of guilt as he turned the ignition. The sterile scent of disinfectant hit me as we entered the hospital, causing me to wrinkle my nose in distaste. The doctor was thorough in his examination, running a battery of tests that felt endless. Only after confirming that I was physically all right did Maverick, finally, let out a breath he seemed to have been holding for an eternity. "Sister, I'm so sorry," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, as if he feared disturbing the fragile peace that had settled around us. "I had originally intended to introduce you today." A wave of understanding washed over me as I processed his words. "I didn't mention you to Eliza earlier because I was worried she'd exploit our family connection to ask you for favors." He let out a bitter laugh, the sound tinged with regret. "But I didn't foresee things spiraling out of control like this. I still allowed you to endure this." So that was why Eliza had no inkling of who I truly was. I nodded slowly, the doubts that had plagued my heart finally dissipating. I turned to him, my gaze steady. "And that means you were already aware of what kind of person Eliza is. But why did you still choose to marry her?" I pressed, the question heavy with implications. He froze for a moment, as if grappling with the weight of my inquiry. "She's pregnant. I didn't want to be irresponsible. But now, I've made my decision. I'm not marrying her anymore." Just then, his phone erupted into a furious vibration, the caller ID flashing ominously. Chairman Campbell. I gestured for him to answer. My curiosity piqued. As soon as he connected the call, Nolan's furious voice erupted through the speaker, cutting through the tension like a knife. "Maverick, my Campbell family is prepared to offer you our daughter, and this is how you repay us. I demand you come to the hotel immediately. There are countless guests waiting. Do you want to humiliate both families?" Maverick inhaled deeply, his expression hardening as he replied. "Chairman Campbell, didn't Eliza explain what transpired?" From the phone, Eliza's voice emerged, laced with feigned sorrow. "It wasn't a big deal. I simply didn't recognize your sister and misunderstood her, that's all. And it's not my fault she's not a virgin. Why should I be blamed? Once I marry you, I'll be her sister-in-law. No matter what her background is, I'm the elder. She shouldn't be quibbling with someone older." I nearly laughed at the absurdity of her claims. She conveniently omitted the details that would cast her in a less favorable light. How convenient indeed. Then came Nolan's arrogant snort, dripping with entitlement. "With the Campbell family's influence in San and Tunpa, people will continue to show us respect. If you don't come, don't blame me for taking action against your Putta-Sun Corporation." As soon as he finished, I snatched the phone from Maverick's grip, a smirk playing on my lips. "Well, Chairman Campbell," I said lazily, "you certainly have a grandiose tone. You should spend less time threatening others, and more time considering your overseas logistics situation." A heavy silence followed, stretching on for what felt like an eternity. 3 full seconds of nothingness filled the line. Then Nolan's voice returned, now laced with impatience. "What do you mean by that?" "The Campbell family has stood strong in San and Tunpa for decades. We've weathered every storm. You think." Before he could finish, frantic footsteps echoed through the speaker, and a panicked male voice broke through the tension. Chairman, something terrible has happened." Chapter 8. "What on earth are you panicking for?" Nolan's voice sliced through the air, sharp and impatient, as he struggled to maintain his composure in the chaos of the moment. "Can't you see I'm on the phone?" I shot back, irritation bubbling beneath my skin as I tried to focus on the call. But Chairman Campbell, our overseas logistics, something gone horribly wrong. The assistant's voice quivered, thick with urgency, each word laced with a sense of impending doom. We just received notice. All of our overseas projects have been terminated. The gravity of the situation hung heavily in the air, suffocating. The cargo at the port has been seized, and the overseas warehouses, they've been completely emptied. The assistant's words echoed in my mind like a relentless drumbeat, each syllable amplifying the dread that was settling in my stomach. What? Nolan's voice shot up an octave, a mixture of disbelief and panic. I could almost visualize him, the chair scraping violently against the floor as he leaped to his feet, a whirlwind of frustration and fear. After a brief silence, his voice returned, but this time it trembled, revealing the vulnerability beneath his authoritative facade. No, that voice on the phone just now, why does it sound so familiar? In a moment of desperation, he roared into the receiver. Who are you? Trinity Puttason, I replied, my tone steady despite the chaos swirling around me. Chairman of Silver Crest Group. An eerie silence enveloped the line, thick and heavy, broken only by the sound of Nolan's labored breathing, each inhale a testament to the weight of the revelation. Then, from the background, Eliza's annoyed voice pierced through the tension like a sharp knife. Dad, what are you doing? Hurry up and tell Maverick to come pick me up. Her impatience was palpable, a stark contrast to the gravity of the situation unfolding. Today is my wedding day. The guests are all waiting. Her tone dripped with dissatisfaction, completely oblivious to the storm brewing in her father's world. It's just the Silver Crest Group chairman. What's the big deal? She scoffed dismissively, her arrogance blinding her to the reality. Acting like she's someone important, she might just be some nouveau riche. Our Campbell family's status in San and Tunpa. She's not. Shut up. Nolan's furious roar nearly shattered the phone's speaker. You idiot. Do you have any idea what you're saying? Eliza flinched, the shock evident in her voice. Dad, why are you yelling at me? You don't understand. His voice trembled with barely contained rage, each word a desperate plea. Every single one of our overseas projects, every single one, is led by Silver Crest Group. From logistics to warehousing, from distribution to sales, there is not a single link that doesn't rely on Silver Crest. The urgency in his voice was palpable, a frantic realization dawning upon him. You've offended the Silver Crest chairman. Our entire overseas market is finished. The weight of his words hung in the air, a dark cloud of despair. Silence enveloped Eliza as the gravity of her father's words sunk in, the realization washing over her like a cold wave. Nolan's voice broke the stillness again, now frantic and almost pleading. Maverick, no, President Puttason. If I had known you were connected to Silver Crest Group, I would never have spoken to you that way. Please, let your sister meet with me, I hung up before he could finish, my heart racing as I processed the whirlwind of emotions that had just unfolded. In that moment, my own phone buzzed incessantly, the vibration jolting me back to reality. President Puttason, something happened. You're trending. Kulla's anxious voice blared through the line, her urgency palpable. Someone uploaded a video of you being harassed at the Campbell residence. My stomach dropped, a knot of anxiety tightening within me. Without hesitation, I dove into the depths of the internet, my fingers flying across the screen. The #1 trending topic blazed across the display. Silver Crest Group chairman indecent video at wedding venue. With a racing heart, I tapped it open, dread pooling in my chest. It was the footage of me, surrounded by groomsmen being forcibly searched for red envelopes. But the video had been maliciously edited. The only part remaining was the moment I was pinned to the sofa, stripped of context and dignity. The caption was a punch to the gut, nauseating in its cruelty. This bridesmaid suggested the game herself. Looks like she enjoyed it, Tulda. The comments section had erupted, a cacophony of judgment and mockery. Tusk, Youngsters these days really know how to have fun. She looks like she's pretending to resist. No wonder those guys were excited. She suggested the game herself. Must have been tailored for her lol. As I scrolled further, a wave of horror washed over me. People had started digging into my personal life. My photos, academic history, even past interview clips, all of it was being dragged into the open, laid bare for the world to see. Chapter 9. The realization struck me like a bolt of lightning. It's her. She's the one, Trinity from Silvercrest Group. My heart raced as the implications of that thought spiraled through my mind. I never anticipated that the illustrious Trinity would reveal such a disgraceful side behind closed doors. The whispers echoed in my head, a cacophony of judgment and disbelief. The shareholders of Silvercrest need to wake up. With someone like her at the helm, disaster is not just a possibility, it's an inevitability. Carly's anxious voice cut through the tension, her words laced with urgency. President Peterson, the stock price of Silvercrest Group is beginning to fluctuate alarmingly. It's already down 5%, and it keeps plummeting. I inhaled deeply, the air filling my lungs as I fought to maintain my composure amidst the chaos. Maverick, visibly enraged, was trembling with indignation. He sprang to his feet, his phone clutched tightly in his hand as he dialed Eliza's number with a sense of determination. Moments later, the call connected, and her voice oozed with smugness, a tone that grated on my nerves. "Hubby, did you finally come to your senses?" "I knew it. You wouldn't really choose her over." "Who posted the video?" Maverick's voice was like ice, slicing through the air with a chilling sharpness. Eliza paused, her laughter ringing hollow. "Oh my hubby, what are you talking about?" "I asked you, who uploaded the video?" His voice was taut, each syllable vibrating with barely contained rage. A heavy silence enveloped the conversation. After what felt like an eternity, she stammered, I don't know who posted it." There were countless guests at the wedding. How could I possibly know all of them? Besides, it's already out there. It's too late to erase it. Her tone dripped with a disturbing mix of entitlement and a barely concealed delight, as if relishing the chaos. "Hubby, just get her to say a few words. Just clarify that it was all part of the wedding games. Then it'll blow over. She's wealthy anyway. It's just a statement. It's not like she'll lose anything significant." Maverick closed his eyes, taking a steadying breath, as if trying to regain control over the tempest of emotions roiling within him. When he opened them again, disappointment and revulsion clouded his gaze. "Eliza, you never learn. I'm telling you right now, find a time and get rid of the child." "What?" Eliza shrieked, her voice rising in disbelief. "Maverick, what did you just say?" "This is your child. You want me to abort it?" "Are you out of your mind?" His laughter was cold, devoid of warmth. "My child. How can I know if it's mine?" "You..." Eliza's voice quivered with fury, her temper flaring. "Maverick, you've crossed a line. My dad won't let you off the hook." With that, Maverick hung up the phone, the finality of the action echoing in the tense silence. Just then, Carly burst into the room, her tablet still clutched in her hands, her expression one of alarm. "President Peterson, the situation online is deteriorating rapidly. Dozens of marketing accounts are spreading narratives that your private life is in disarray, that you're unfit to lead Silvercrest Group. Some are even calling for a board meeting to discuss your removal." She trembled with indignation, her frustration palpable. "These people are utterly unbelievable. President Peterson, we need to hold a press conference immediately. We must clear your name." I glanced at the venomous comments flashing across the screen, my expression growing colder by the second. "A press conference?" I let out a sharp, humorless laugh, the sound echoing with cynicism. "That would be doing her a favor." Carly blinked, her confusion evident. "President Peterson, you mean?" I raised my head, a chilling calm washing over me as I formulated my plan. "We'll send a lawyer's letter. And we'll live stream it. We'll expose her to the entire internet." Carly's eyes widened, then sparkled with a glimmer of excitement. Understood. I'll contact the legal team right away. Maverick's gaze remained fixed on me, a mixture of conflict and concern etched on his face. Brother, I said, locking eyes with him, do you think I'm going too far? He shook his head slowly. No, I just think the years you spent abroad have altered you far more than I ever imagined. Chapter 10. Don't worry, Maverick murmured, his voice low and steady, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within me. My second chance at life was a gift from my uncle and aunt, but now, with Eliza's reckless actions, she must face the consequences. I cannot and will not show her mercy. I could feel the weight of his words pressing down on my heart, a mixture of anger and resolve swirling within me. Besides, he continued, his brow furrowing slightly as he emphasized his point, she didn't just hurt you, she nearly tarnished the entire reputation of Silvercrest Group. His words rang in my ears like a clarion call, echoing the urgency of our situation. This debt must be settled properly, I agreed, my voice firmer than I felt. Without a moment's hesitation, Carly sprang into action, her fingers dancing over her phone as she contacted our legal team. Our legal powerhouse was nothing short of impressive, a formidable collective of over a dozen lawyers, each one a titan in their respective fields, known for their sharp minds and tenacious spirits. President Peterson, the lead lawyer began, his demeanor professional yet earnest as he approached me with a file in hand. We've gathered all the evidence you'll need. He handed me the file, and I opened it to reveal a treasure trove of information. It includes the complete video footage, witness statements, and the hospital reports, he continued, his voice steady and reassuring. This is more than sufficient to establish that you were the victim in this case. I skimmed through the documents, my heart racing as I absorbed the details. Nodding, I felt a surge of determination. Excellent. Let's prepare to file the lawsuit without delay, I instructed, my voice steady, a sense of purpose fueling my resolve. The lead lawyer adjusted his glasses, a gesture that seemed to signify the gravity of our situation. Our plan is to sue Eliza and all parties involved for defamation, insult, and infringement of reputation, he stated, his tone unwavering. Furthermore, we will take legal action against all the malicious online accounts that have propagated false information. His words hung in the air, a promise of retribution. No one will be spared, he added, and I felt a cold smile curl at the corners of my lips. Good. Remember, this trial will be live-streamed across the entire internet. I want everyone to witness the consequences of defaming me, I declared, my voice firm, my gaze unyielding. Just then, my phone buzzed insistently, breaking the tense atmosphere. It was Nalan. I glanced at the screen, hesitating only a moment before pressing the answer button. President Peterson, his voice trembled, laced with desperation. Please, I implore you to show mercy. My daughter, she truly didn't understand the gravity of her actions. I'm willing to bring her here myself to kneel and apologize. His pleas tugged at something deep within me, but I steeled myself against the rising tide of sympathy. Whatever compensation you ask, I will provide. Just please don't sue her, his voice cracked, revealing the depth of his anguish. She's my daughter, the one I finally found after so many years. I cut him off, my tone icy and resolute. Mr. Campbell, it's too late for that. The lawyer's letter has already been dispatched. I'll see you in court. With that, I hung up, the finality of the action echoing in my mind. On the day of the trial, I took my place in the plaintiff's seat, exuding an air of calm composure, even as my heart raced with anticipation. The courtroom buzzed with energy, packed to the brim with spectators, their eyes wide with curiosity. Countless cameras were trained on every corner, capturing the moment for the world to see. The trial was being streamed live, and within 10 short minutes, the viewership soared past 1 million. When Eliza finally entered the courtroom, she appeared a mere shadow of her former self. Her face was ashen, her features drawn tight with fear. Clad in a gray prison uniform, her hair was disheveled, and the arrogance that once defined her was nowhere to be seen. As she caught sight of the cameras, she instinctively attempted to shield her face, but the bailiffs were quick to intervene, preventing her escape. Silence! The judge's gavel struck the bench with authority, echoing through the room. Court is now in session. My lead lawyer rose, his presence commanding as he addressed the court. Your Honor, my client, Ms. Trinity Peterson, has endured severe personal violations and reputational defamation at the hands of the defendant, Eliza Campbell. He gestured emphatically, his voice clear and unwavering. We possess complete video footage, hospital reports, and multiple witness statements. With a nod from him, an assistant activated the evidence, and the large screen flickered to life, illuminating the courtroom with damning clarity. The footage played, revealing Eliza's callous instructions to her bridesmaids as they stuffed red envelopes onto me, followed by the harassment I endured from her groomsmen. Every detail was captured, vivid and undeniable. Gasps rippled through the courtroom, a wave of shock and disbelief washing over the spectators. Meanwhile, online viewers flooded the livestream chat with their reactions. Oh my God, so that's what really happened. The previous video was maliciously edited. Eliza is truly vicious. And those groomsmen, they're absolute beasts. Eliza's face paled further as she watched the video unfold, her bravado crumbling. Her lawyer, clearly panicked, leaped to his feet. Your Honor, this video, the source of it is. But the words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of impending justice. Chapter 11. The atmosphere in the courtroom was thick with tension as my lawyer spoke with a calm authority that contrasted sharply with the storm brewing within me. The source of the video is entirely legal, he asserted, his voice steady, cutting through the murmurs of disbelief that rippled through the audience. It was provided by the original uploader in its unedited, full-length form, and we have submitted the complete chain of evidence. His words hung in the air, a lifeline amidst the chaos. Additionally, there are multiple eyewitnesses present who can testify, he added, his gaze sweeping the room, as if daring anyone to challenge the truth. Soon, several bridesmaids were summoned to the witness stand, their faces pale under the scrutiny of the court. Eliza, seated just a few feet away, spun around in her chair, her eyes wide with fury, a tempest of betrayal swirling within her. How dare you betray me? She spat, her voice trembling with rage and disbelief. One bridesmaid, visibly shaken, lowered her head, her voice barely above a whisper. It's not my fault she was the one giving the orders. Her words hung in the air, a fragile attempt at self-preservation. Can you describe what happened that day? My lawyer prompted, his tone firm yet encouraging. A different bridesmaid trembled as she recalled the events. It was Eliza who told us to do it. She said we had to teach that makeup artist a lesson. Her voice quivered, the weight of her confession pressing down on her. And she accused her of trying to seduce her husband. Another bridesmaid interjected, her eyes darting nervously around the courtroom. Another voice broke through the tension. We really didn't know she was the Silver Crest Group chairman. The desperation in her tone was palpable. If we had known, we never would have done it, she added, her voice trailing off, regret lacing her words. Enough, the judge banged the gavel, the sound echoing like a thunderclap in the charged atmosphere. Witnesses, answer the questions truthfully. Do not speak on unrelated matters. With that, the courtroom shifted focus as the hospital report was submitted. It meticulously documented the injuries and the psychological trauma I had endured, a stark reminder of my suffering. Based on this evidence, my lawyer summarized, his voice resonating with conviction, the defendant, Eliza Campbell, is guilty of intentional insult, defamation, and incitement of others to commit harm against my client. We demand that the defendant issue a public apology and pay $5 million in emotional damages, he continued, his words a powerful declaration of my right to justice. Additionally, all malicious online accounts spreading false information will be held legally accountable. he concluded, his gaze unwavering. Eliza's lawyer attempted a defense, but it was a feeble gesture, crumbling under the weight of the overwhelming evidence presented. The trial dragged on for 3 long hours, each minute stretching into eternity. Finally, the judge rose, his voice firm and authoritative. The defendant, Eliza Campbell, is guilty of intentionally insulting and defaming the plaintiff, Trinity Puttason, thereby infringing upon her reputation. The evidence is conclusive. The defendant is ordered to issue a public apology to the plaintiff and pay $5 million in emotional damages. Furthermore, the groomsmen who participated in the harassment will also bear legal responsibility. With a decisive bang of the gavel, the courtroom erupted into applause, a chorus of support ringing through the air. Eliza slumped in her chair, her expression one of utter despair, as if the weight of the world had just crashed down upon her. I regarded her with a cool indifference, a stark contrast to the emotional turmoil that had once enveloped me. As I exited the courthouse, Culla rushed up to me, her face alight with excitement. "President Puttason, Silvercrest Group's stock price is already recovering. It's up 10% now and still rising," she exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. "All those malicious marketing accounts that smeared you have deleted their posts and apologized," she reported, her eyes sparkling with hope. "Public opinion is firmly on your side." I nodded, a sense of satisfaction washing over me. "Good. And what about Campbell Group?" I inquired, a hint of curiosity lacing my tone. Culla's grin widened. "They're in shambles. Without your support, and with this scandal, their stock has dropped 40%, she explained, her voice brimming with glee. "Nolan is scrambling, trying to find help, but no one dares to step in." A smirk crept across my face. Serves them right. Once home, I turned on the television, hopping to unwind and escape the weight of the day. To my surprise, the news anchor's voice cut through my thoughts, serious and heavy. "At 20 p.m. today, Eliza Campbell, while leaving the courthouse, was involved in a severe rear-end collision." The footage shifted, revealing the aftermath of the accident. The police transport vehicle lay mangled beyond recognition, as if it had been crushed by a giant's hand. Glass shards glimmered on the ground, reflecting the harsh sunlight, a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding it. Police lines cordoned off the area, and the wailing sirens of ambulances and patrol cars pierced the air, a cacophony of urgency and despair. According to eyewitnesses, an out-of-control large truck collided with the transport vehicle from the side at high speed. The anchor continued, the gravity of the situation sinking in. Eliza suffered a compound fracture to her leg, resulting in massive blood loss. Her condition is critical, and emergency transfusions are required immediately. The weight of the news settled heavily on my chest, a complex mix of emotions swirling within me. Chapter 12. Eliza's father, Nolan Campbell, felt his heart race as he sped towards the hospital, the moment he received the harrowing news. The urgency of the situation clawed at him, each second stretching into an eternity. I found myself staring at the screen, my brow furrowed in concern, as the news footage played. Reporters had captured Nolan in a frenzied dash towards the hospital entrance, his complexion ashen and his eyes wide with a mixture of dread and desperation. It was a sight that tugged at the heartstrings. After years of searching, he had finally found his daughter, and now she was fighting for her life. As the days unfolded, the narrative surrounding Eliza took on an increasingly bizarre turn, her name trending relentlessly across social media platforms. The online world was abuzz with speculation, each post more sensational than the last. Nolan, determined not to lose the daughter he had fought so hard to find, hurried to the hospital, ready to donate blood in hopes of saving her. The doctors moved swiftly, conducting blood-type tests and preparing for a potential match. But when the results were handed down, an eerie silence enveloped the hospital. The doctor, a seasoned professional, held the report with a grave expression that spoke volumes. "Mr. Campbell, this." "What is it? Just tell me." Nolan's voice rose, panic evident as beads of sweat trickled down his forehead. Your blood type does not match hers, the doctor replied carefully, his tone heavy with gravity. And based on genetic inheritance, you and Miss Campbell are not biologically related. The revelation struck him like a bolt of lightning, leaving Nolan momentarily paralyzed. Impossible, he exclaimed, snatching the report from the doctor's hand. You must be mistaken. Sir, we have verified this information 3 separate times, the doctor insisted, his voice unwavering. There is no error. The shocking news spread like wildfire through the hospital corridors and soon erupted across the internet. What? Not her biological daughter? How did she even become the Campbell family heiress? Was she an imposter? Thus is insane. Not even a TV drama would dare write this plot. How many years has Nolan been deceived? Nolan felt as if the ground had crumbled beneath him, teetering on the edge of despair. Refusing to accept this devastating truth, he poured every last bit of his savings into a relentless pursuit of answers, leveraging every connection he had and hearing the city's most elite private investigators to unravel the mystery. After a week filled with sleepless nights and relentless inquiries, the shocking truth finally emerged from the shadows. The real Campbell family heiress was none other than Eliza's former best friend, Eliza Muntasutta. Years prior, while sifting through her late mother's belongings, Eliza had stumbled upon a dusty hospital birth certificate and a collection of old photographs. The discovery shattered her world. She had been switched at birth, and her true parents were the esteemed heads of the Campbell Group in San Antonio. Filled with a mix of excitement and trepidation, Eliza rushed to confide in her closest friend, Eliza. She envisioned a new life and pledged to care for Eliza in return for her friendship. However, beneath Eliza's outwardly supportive demeanor lay a dark and twisted ambition. Though she feigned happiness for Eliza, her heart was consumed with jealousy and greed. She plotted to seize the opportunity for herself, her mind racing with schemes. Then came the fateful night before Eliza was to reclaim her identity. She vanished without a trace. Eliza reported her disappearance to the police, tears streaming down her cheeks as she claimed that Eliza must have gone out for a walk to calm her nerves. But Eliza never returned. In the meantime, Eliza used Eliza's birth certificate and all related documents to impersonate her, successfully embedding herself into the Campbell family, a deception that felt both thrilling and terrifying. When the truth finally clawed its way to the surface, it was too late. Eliza's lifeless body was discovered in a desolate mountain ravine, her remains so badly decomposed that identification was only possible through DNA testing. The forensic report was chilling, confirming that Eliza had been pushed off a cliff, her life extinguished by a fatal head injury upon impact. As the news broke, the internet erupted in outrage. Oh my God, a murderer. She actually killed her own best friend for wealth and status. Thus scum deserves death 1,000 times over. Eliza trusted her as a friend, and she repaid that with murder. Nolan crumpled under the weight of the revelation, clutching his chest as darkness clouded his vision. He collapsed, the world around him fading into a blur. Mr. Campbell, his secretary shouted, her voice laced with panic. Call an ambulance. In a flurry of urgency, Nolan was rushed to the intensive care unit. As he lay on the hospital bed, surrounded by a maze of tubes and machines, his face as pale as a ghost, a tremor of defiance coursed through him. With a shaky breath, he uttered his final command. Prosecute Eliza for intentional murder. She must pay with her life. Soon after, the prosecutor formally charged Eliza with murder. The evidence was irrefutable. Her fate was sealed. In the courtroom, Eliza's once confident demeanor crumbled, her face drained of color as fear replaced arrogance. Her defense attorney attempted to plead for leniency, but against the overwhelming evidence, it was a futile effort. Ultimately, the court delivered its verdict, a death sentence to be executed without delay. As I prepared to leave San Antonio, the sky above was unusually clear, almost eerily serene. It was the day of Eliza's execution. As the plane ascended slowly into the azure expanse, I gazed out the window, watching the city shrink beneath me. Sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a warm, golden glow on the plane's wings. A soft smile graced my lips as I pondered the events that had transpired. Evil, I mused, would always find its way to justice. In the grand tapestry of life, the world had a way of restoring balance, no matter how long it took. The end. Book 3 will be posted soon. And that's a wrap on today's reading here at Booked for Drama. If you felt anything, rage, swoon, secondhand heartbreak, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow drama lovers. If you have any requests, drop them in the comments. Until next time, keep reading and keep the drama on the page.